Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 3rd of April, comes to you from London. And the big news in markets this morning is crude oil jumping on that surprise cut by Saudi and a few of the other oil leading nations. And so we're seeing that really big move. But are we that surprised? We've been above the cloud, and if you go back and look at our morning calls in the week, we were pretty bullish on most energy products last week. And you see this. We see the targets here given on crude oil. We're above the cloud with upside targets. This was actually on Wednesday. And looking at emissions, again, upside targets there. And gas, we were calling higher. And German power, we said, break above 145. We're more bullish. We're in the 150s today. So it just shows you cannot ignore the targets. Now, if you want to sign up to these morning call reports, just let me know, and we'll get you signed up. Now, looking at what's going on in the main markets, we'll come back to energy at the end of this session, but looking at what's going on in the main markets, the dollar is the really big thing to watch longer term. Are we going to break these key levels? Below 100 would be bad for the dollar index. Above 105 would be good in terms of bullishness for the dollar. And that's really the two levels that we're now watching. And if we look at the euro, we see here similarly that we're just edging through the cloud here, bullish on that medium term and short term bearish there. Remembering this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart with the corresponding point and figure targets. I'm running here on top of Refinitiv Icon, but of course you can run on Updata on top of dozens of different data services, including Bloomberg, DTN, Trayport, you name it. We run on lots of different data services. You can and lots of free data services, broker services, Yahoo, etc. So you can basically and run on those multiple services. So I run multiple services into my Updata. I run Icon and Bloomberg into my Updata system, and so the choice is yours. So we're looking here at the euro. That is actually just looking a little bit more bearish on the short term. That 108 level, pretty critical there. The key levels, quite key. Remembering the Japanese yen, this was the one that we really highlighted as being critical, and this is a good lead indicator for the dollar. And if we look at the yen here, the key thing is where are the levels, and if we look there, we see here it's that 127, 137.90. So if we break 138, that would be bullish for the dollar, and if we break below this 127 level, that would be bearish for the dollar, and this is the lead indicator to watch there. So that's quite a cool tool, key levels on Updata. Looking at British pound, we're sitting at 123.40, looking strong again this morning. So that's holding on to that bullish stance on the short-term chart. 125 is the level there to break, so definitely one to watch. And if we look at the Aussie dollar is sitting back just below that 184 level, and this is a trade that's dear to my heart at the moment. I'm watching that quite closely. Bitcoin sitting at 28,300, holding on to the gains basically. Upside targets to 50,000, 54,000. That upside target didn't actually activate in the end on Friday. Quite interesting that we were activating it, but we didn't close above that previous level. So that target is not yet activated. It is on the medium term chart. So really quite interesting there. The Nasdaq had a good end to the quarter, breaking through that previous February high. So looking quite strong there. And that's going to be really key. But the S&P needs to get above 4,200, sorry, and not quite doing that yet. So quite interesting that we're seeing there that level just got to break that previous February high. Will we do it? That's the big question. We're still below the cloud on the stocks there. And if we look at the Nasdaq, we're also still below the cloud, even though we are just breaking higher. So looking good medium and short term, but the long term chart, we've still got work to do there. And if we look at the futures this morning, we're down slightly on the S&P future and down quite heavily on the Nasdaq future, so quite key there as well. The FTSE future is up 0.5% this morning, so we're seeing markets in Europe looking a little bit better. The DAX in Germany up just 0.07%, so fairly quiet in Europe there. If we look at some of the Asian markets, we've got Tokyo up 0.2%, so looking still bullish there on all three time frames, good upside targets, so really looking quite good. The Hang Seng little change. China up 0.75%. starting to look a little bit better there on the long-term chart. Remembering, if we're above the cloud, we're bullish. If we're below the cloud, we're bearish. Short-term and medium-term looking quite positive with upside targets activated. So quite interesting there. The Sensex in India was one of the worst performers in Q1. It was down slightly, which is strange given that it's one of the best looking long-term charts, but it just couldn't hold the gains there, and we are back to medium-term bearish. We want to see it cross back above 60,000 really to be bullish on the Sensex in India. The Aussie market up 2/3% overnight, looking quite good there. The medium-term chart just pulling back into bullish territory. Mixed targets there for Oz, but short-term we're looking certainly a lot better. As I mentioned, we look at the energy mix towards the end. We're seeing some of the commodities rising as well. I mean, some quite big moves here. You've got wheat up 1.5%, so that's quite interesting. Still bearish on the long-term chart and the medium-term chart, but certainly one to watch. This is the spike down after that big move that we saw last year. So once the Ukraine invasion, we've been really on a downtrend ever since that spike high. Gold sitting at 1964, the year of my birth, a great year, and looking here to just hold those bullish charts. We did nudge 2,000. We've got an activated upside target to 2,100, another one to 2,346. It looks like we will break 2,000, and we've just got to hold it, of course. Looking at silver now. Silver's down this morning. Not quite as bullish a chart as gold. Really need to break that 25 level and hold it convincingly. And if we look at yields, 10-year yields sitting at 3.5%, so quite interesting there as well. And stocks in the tech arena, we saw really big moves here. Apple looking strong again, a good lead indicator for the market. This was making new highs well before the Nasdaq index was, so quite like watching this. We pointed out the fact that we were making new upside targets activated earlier than the Nasdaq, so Apple looking quite strong again. Looking at the energy mix now, we've got that Brent crude spike this morning. What happens next is really key. You can't really predict with any great deal of certainty these news alerts. You get the market gets a surprise. It's what happens now that really counts. We'll have a high and then a low, and can we then break above that high, or will we go back below the low and unwind the news? Looking at WTI, we're sitting at just below $80 there. Again, we're just moving above the cloud, fighting some resistance here. Will they, won't they? And of course, I've done a LinkedIn poll on where the price of crude oil is going. Have a look on my LinkedIn page. I'm expecting a good few thousand votes there, and we'll have a consensus as to where the oil price is going. Looking at some of the other products, coal back above 150, looking quite good there on that short-term chart, back above the cloud. The upside target was there to 149.71, that was met. Another one to 154 that we're pushing for, and the longer term picture is still pretty bearish. We need to break that 165 level, that previous high set at the end of February. Gas prices are moving higher this morning. We went out as bullish to clients. No big surprises there. We've been calling gas higher all week. This is really looking very much more and more like a bottom. We do need to break that 140 level, that previous high in March. That's going to be pretty critical on MBP. And looking at TTF, we see here that we're sitting at 261. I double click there. Looking at up 2.6%. And again, just breaking, we need to break that sort of 55 level to be really bullish on that new higher high. But we've got upside targets. We've been calling it higher on the short term all the last few days. And if we look at German power, we are surging here. We put targets out last week. We said if we break 145, we'd really run. That's what we've done. Gone up another 10 euros. On Friday, we put out the chart on LinkedIn and out to clients with all the upside targets into the 150s. That's where we've gone, so that's really key. And emissions is another one that we should look at, sitting at 92.61. Lots of upside targets there on the 1-minute charts. If you're trading emissions, you need to be looking at these targets, looking more bullish on the 60-minute, bullish above the daily, bullish above the 60-minute. That's bullish. Good news for emissions. We found support there, quite a clear trend. The key thing is, can we break that 100 target? There's some big upside targets if we can break above 100 and hold it. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.